Hello, everybody. This is Coach Meinbauer for AP Pre-Calculus. This is not a particular section we're going over, but we're going to go over how to use Desmos and how that can help us out on the AP exam. We're going to focus on specifically on regressions, on linear, quadratic, and exponential regressions. So I do have a problem here that is from our notes in 2.6. Kind of rewrote bits and pieces of it so that we can use Desmos. So here we go. So the weight of the newborn babies can be modeled by a linear function for the first 4 months after birth. Selected values for the weight, W of t in kilograms, of a particular newborn baby are given in the table above, well, to the right in this case, where t represents the number of months since birth. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use Desmos to write a linear, quadratic, and exponential regression. So Desmos will be available to you on your AP exam. So what I'm going to first do is show you how to make a table and then input all those numbers in. Okay, so right here is Desmos. If you hit the plus button right here, it gives you a bunch of things you can add. I'm going to go ahead and click on add a table. So when you're in the testing version for Desmos, you only have an options to add tables and to add functions. So I know the x's are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have this in front of me, so I'm going to have to kind of go back and forth to see this. So 3.2, 4.2. 5.1, 5.8. I think it's 6.4, but I'll just double check. Okay, so I got all those points on. If you notice, it plots these points for me, which is totally awesome. So what we're going to do to write a regression is we're going to be using this x sub 1 and the y sub 1. You can find the underscore button next to the 0 if you hit shift, and you will need that. So to sketch a linear function, you just need to write out what the linear function is. So y sub 1, which again, the underscore button is next to the 0 and the shift. Okay, and we use this. Oh, nope. Make sure it's a big one right there next to the y. This little tilde right there, that is next to the 1. Okay, this is telling the program we're going to use y1 as a regression, and then we're going to do a times x sub 1. Kind of see how it's starting to write everything out for us, plus b. So you have to know what the linear regressions look like. So you have to know it's an a x sub 1 plus b. So that means it's using the y1 values in our table and our x1 values in the table as well. And this tells us a lot right here. It even gives us our residuals. If we hit the plot button, that will give us all those residual values. So you can see these values appear down here for these residuals. And right here gives us the residuals as well. Okay, so that, and I'm going to unclick that because I don't need those right now. I'm going to do the same thing for quadratic. So I'm going to do y sub 1 and then that little tilde right there. And then I'm going to do a x sub 1, and we're going to square that, plus bx sub 1 plus c. And it'll give me that as well. And I can plot those residuals. And the residuals just pop up here. If you notice, e sub 1 is going to be the linear one because that's what it told me. E sub 2 will go ahead and be the quadratic one. And then the last one we're going to do is the exponential. And it's going to be of this form, AB raised to the x sub 1. And again, we can plot those residuals as well. So we have all these graphs here, and on Desmos, you can click on the colored next to the number, and it will undo whatever you don't want. Okay, so right now I have these plotted right here. So these are me plotting all these residuals, which is kind of hard to tell which one to use based on that information because we only have 5 points here. And you can always change these colors by hitting edit list, and I'll make these be blue. Okay, I'll have e sub 1, I'll have it be red whenever we do that, so it matches the residuals. I'll have this one be blue, so it matches the residuals. And then I believe those last ones are black, so I'll have this one match and be black. Okay, so you can kind of see these right here. So this is how you plot everything. And again, there's at bottom values of the residuals. Up here, the green are the actual values that we saw. So there's red, there's the quadratic, and here's the exponential. So you can see the difference between all of these, and these all are going to give different values, and they have different residuals, as you can see, comparing one from the other. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is looking at the regression model plots, which model is most appropriate for the data. So let's go ahead and we'll zoom in down here, and you can always change the window just by hitting this plus and minus right here will do it. I'm on a touch screen. You can just use 2 fingers to zoom in and out. And really, these look pretty consistent here. It looks like the quadratic one is the better one. I only know that because I'm looking at the R squared values, but we shouldn't be using that. We should be looking at the residual plots. I was talking to one of the other teachers, and he said, if we only have 5 points, it's hard to tell the residual plots. So if you ever do Desmos on that's not on the notes right now, like on an assessment, we'll give you more plots. You can tell which one is a better estimate here. But if I am real quickly looking at just the red. Now for the residual plots, I'm just looking, is there a pattern or no pattern? It's hard to tell with just 5 here. Doesn't look like there's a pattern right there. These look kind of like on, down, up, down, up, down. And then these, I think that these two look like they have a bit of a pattern, the red and the black. So it looks like our blue one here is our winner for which one does not have a pattern. It kind of looks like it just goes horizontal, but really it's just barely going above, barely going below. It's inconsistent. I'm going to go with our quadratic there is our better one. So which one is the best one? I'm going to go with the quadratic. Okay, why? Because there is no pattern. All right, so that's why the quadratic model is better. Now for part B, I'm going to specifically use just the linear one. So I'm going to undo those right there. Undo that one right there. I can plot those if I want. Now when you're on Desmos, you can always change the settings of what this looks like by hitting this right here. And like for me, I always hate these minor grid lines. I usually have all of these go by step by 1 because that's what we're used to. And that will stay the entire time as I zoom in and out. Okay, so for question number 1 here that it asked me, here's my linear. Let's predict the weight of this baby at 2.5 months after birth. A couple ways you can do that. You can either slide this over to get to the 2.5 value, which is going to be right here. Okay. Or you can see what your A and your B values are over here, and you can type them out. So you know that this is the function. I'll call it f of x. It's nice to name these functions. Is going to be 0.8x. I got 0.8 from the A value plus 3.34. If you notice, it matches it right there. And then all I can do is you can do f of 2.5, and it'll give you that value right there. So our predicted weight here is going to be 5.34. And I did that by either sliding. I'll undo that one. So I can do that just by sliding my little cursor right here, click on the red line, which is the regression, slide till I get to 2.5. It's one way to do it. Or you can just type it in like I just did, and you can get it from there. So it said my answer was 5.34. Okay, and then what's the residual at 2? I was given 2, so it's right here. This residual is going to be 0.16 because, again, these are all my residual values. So 0.16. Okay, and also one more quick thing too. When you're looking at if there's a pattern or not for these residual values, if you look at the table right here, I do see a pattern. It's very clear that there's a pattern here for this residual. Not so much when you get over here to the exponential one. A little bit harder to tell that there's a pattern here, but it's clear that the linear one has a pattern. Okay, so that's really just kind of a rundown of all this stuff that we do for Desmos. What you do need to do is you do need to know how to plot these. So I would totally do a screenshot of these so that you can try to memorize what those are whenever we do this stuff on Desmos. I think Desmos is a little bit easier to use, a little bit more user friendly. But that's all I got for you. So do not forget to like and subscribe.